Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Retreadcast, our regular video podcast series for the global tyre retreading industry. Today, we're delighted to be able to bring you an interview that we've been waiting to do for a year and a half since Hexpol sold their interest in the US-based envelope manufacturer Robbins to the private investment firm Karo Ventures. Since that time, the new owners, Kent Allen and Rob Smedema, have been quietly getting on with restructuring the company and investing in the Robbins factory in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. However, they're now ready to talk to the market about their plans for the Robbins brand. I managed to catch up with Kent and Rob at their offices in Ripley, Mississippi, the home of their other recent acquisition at Elite Advanced Polymers. So let's go over and listen to that interview right now. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the Retreadcast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, thanks for joining me today. It's great to be able to talk to you at last about everything you've been doing since you purchased Robbins from Hexpol. Let's begin with the obvious question. When you made the decision to acquire the Robbins business in late 2024, what attracted you to Robbins as an investment opportunity?
So Rob and I had some pretty clear ideas just in terms of the sort of businesses that we were interested in. And we went through a couple of different places to find a business and kind of eventually, say we kind of stumbled across, the opportunity at Robbins. And Rob and I had both been working in the tire industry. I'd been there for about 12 years. Rob has a longer history, than that. So we were looking kind of in southeastern United States. We kind of had a size of business. I have experience in the plastics business, rubber experience. And the opportunity at Robbins was just absolutely fantastic and really met all of our needs. It's a 100-year-old brand. It's so well known in the retread space, and we have a large facility with a lot of different capabilities, lots of different opportunities, for us to do different things, and that's kind of where we are today. Really, the business was everything that we were looking for. I think first and foremost, the people in the Muscle Shoals community and the employees have just been absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that we talked about when we got into business is giving people opportunities and treating people the way that we want to be treated. So, what we saw in Muscle Shoals and at Robbins is just a great opportunity, for us to, take employees that, we're looking to be invested in and really expand and do great things. So, like I talked about, we both have roots in the rubber industry. We really feel like today that we have something special. And we're excited to talk about some of the different opportunities that we're looking at to expand the business. So
I just wanted to build off Kent's answer here for just a minute and just say, we love retreading, right? We love the sustainability of it. We love the green aspect. We love the circular economy. We love the value that it brings to fleet operators and OTR operators. We love being able to participate with the tire dealers that we've had a chance to work with, and me particularly over my time in the tire industry. And so retreading as a space, it was particularly exciting to us. And then what I also want to say is early in my career, I worked at Michelin in truck tire sales. And so I worked in a retread facility, and we bought the Robbins brand at that time. So that was way back in 2008.
Wow.
And so when we found out that it was the Robbins brand, my eyes kind of opened up, and I was like, this is an amazing opportunity, one that we took really seriously.
Fantastic. So when you completed the acquisition, what challenges did you expect to find? And did those expectations line up with what you actually found? And what were your initial aims once you were in position?
Yeah, I think the reason for the sale of the business was made pretty clear to us. It was just kind of a non-focus area, kind of for the seller. And when we went into the business, we were expecting, to find things like, deferred maintenance and kind of, opportunities, for us to work on. We had, heard, in the industry that we had some opportunities there. So, really coming in, had a lot of things we just had to do with was just the basics in the factory, working on the equipment, working on the processes and things like that. So that's typically what we found and really, dove into that. And we're able to really get the quality up to really what people expect from the Robbins brand. And I mentioned the people in Muscle Shoals as well, and I think probably what really exceeded our expectations is just having a capable team, and
Yeah.
we're a relatively small business. We have a big facility, and we have just some really capable people, in the plant who can, identify opportunities and kind of, when given some resources, really, really execute and get some things done. So, with what we have with the assets of the business, we're really excited because, we have the capabilities that people know about on the, the CMT products. But we also have a lot of other capabilities with our custom OTR products, tube products, and things like that. And I think there's a lot of different opportunities for us to get involved in the retread market in different ways than we have, historically. So we've been really excited about that.
Super. Okay, so you've been relatively quiet as owners so far since the acquisition. Perhaps you could talk us through the process of what you've been doing at Robbins since the acquisition, and how different is Robbins today compared to what it was 18 months ago?
Well, Dave, first I would say I'm going to take quiet as a compliment, because when we went into this endeavor, we went in to do work, and we rolled our sleeves up over the last 18 months, and we've been doing the work. We've been heads down on the factory floor, working alongside our team, doing everything from building the envelopes to building the rubber to, negotiating insurance and health benefits and everything in the middle, and all the joys of being a small business owner. So we didn't really want it to be about us in our acquisition. We wanted it to be about the brand. So you might have noticed that we did a small rebrand of Robbins.
I noticed.
Traditionally, it's been a big R with kind of the stars and stripes.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of move from the past into the future. And so we said Robbins, made in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Muscle Shoals has an amazing history. I don't know if you know or the listeners know, but the Rolling Stones recorded a bunch of albums there, Aretha Franklin. So it's got a really rich legacy that we were proud of. Equally, our employees had gone through a little bit of it's a discomforting thing to be sold. And so we wanted them to know that we were there for them. We were staying there. We were there forever. This was, maybe non-core to folks in the past, but to us, it wasn't just our core. It was our entire world, right? This is it. And so what we told everybody is we're building on the last 100 years, and we are building for the next 100 years in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And that was a really important message. So what we've done, to answer your questions very specifically, David, is what we've done is we've kind of gone deep on every single aspect of the manufacturing process. As Ken alluded to, there was some deferred maintenance in our building, and we have a really big building. And so we've gone through and systematically and comprehensively addressed every single part of the manufacturing process, every piece of equipment, every machine. We've refinished the molds. We've added molds to eliminate bottlenecks. And generally, we've focused on two things more than anything else. We have focused on safety, right? We have a high legacy of safety in the Muscle Shoals facility, and we're not willing to compromise that for anything. And the second thing is quality. We want to deliver the highest quality product in the industry. And so I'm talking too much, so I'll just summarize one other point I wanted to make. Over the last 18 months, two of the most important things that we've done is we've brought on some meaningful talent to the company. The first person that we hired as our chief technology officer is a gentleman by the name of Demirbaş. He was a Turkish gentleman who's worked all over the world in the rubber and tire industries. He worked in Mississippi. He worked in India, in Italy, in China, and Israel, and all over the world. And so Ujan has brought to us machinery expertise, global manufacturing expertise, wisdom, experience, and just a general approach to excellence. Secondly, we hired a gentleman who has 25 years of managing Bandag plants. And his name is Joe Burleson. And Joe is our general manager at our Muscle Shoals facility. Joe knows what retread plant managers expect and demand. And Joe holds us to a higher quality standard than we can hold ourselves. And so we're so thankful for both of those gentlemen. But over the last 18 months, David, that's what we've been focused on, is just being the best possible version of ourselves.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is all this work that we've done has really shown up in the product. Rob talked about we've resurfaced and refinished every single mold we have. And that's one of the things we heard from customers is they didn't like the aesthetics of the product, the thickness of the product. We've really tightened up our tolerances there, and then just working fully backstream just to make sure that every single envelope that people get from Robbins is consistent. And that's what we're working on now is basically reintroducing ourselves. And getting the opportunity to get product out there, and we're getting great feedback from the market just in terms of how long the product is lasting. And at the end of the day, delivering value for retreaders. So.
I like this question. So I've got one more point I just want to make really quickly. In that we've got tremendous manufacturing capacity. We're keeping inventory on the high volume TBR sizes, right? So because we recognize lead time's important to our customers. We're producing more OTR envelopes today than we were when we acquired the business 18 months ago. And what's amazing about all of this is we still have the largest size encyclopedia in the industry, right? We haven't sacrificed a breadth of offering for efficiency. We've built both. And honestly, David, we're so proud of where we've been, and we're nowhere close to being done. We're just hitting our stride now. So anyway.
Well, your enthusiasm is coming through loud and clear. So that brings me on neatly to my next question, which was that the Robbins brand has a really strong historical legacy in the retreading industry. So where do you think the brand stands globally right now?
I love that question. And Kent and I talk about this a lot. So let me just say first and foremost, I think the Robbins brand is really well loved and well regarded. I also think we can be candid and vulnerable a little bit and say that it wasn't as well regarded over the past recent history, right? So there were some declines in sort of performance and some declines in some other things. And so, as Kent said earlier, I think we've got some work to do. I think and particularly in some of the markets like Europe, where we're underperforming, we need to come out and reintroduce ourselves and say, Robbins is here. We have rebuilt every single part of our process. You've got two guys that are owning and running the business that care about it a whole bunch. And we've got a whole bunch of employees in Alabama that care about it a whole bunch. And so what our comment to everyone is, we are excited to re-engage the community locally and globally. And we want to be an active partner in help reducing folks' cost per cure. And some of this is, I had a mentor early in my career who said, you don't want to be a trust me salesman, right? And so our conversation with anybody that wants to talk to us is give us an opportunity for us to show you why you should give us a shot.
Rob's leading our efforts there, but it really has not been as much of a focus, kind of like you talked about, kind of for the first 18 months. But we are raring and ready to go. And we talked about earlier is I think we're also going to have some new technologies out there that I think will make a lot of sense for the international community as well. So we're excited to meet some of these folks live at Cologne. So
great stuff. So the other question I wanted to ask was, when they sold the facility, Hexpol talked about, as well as the fact that it wasn't their core business, he talked about the fact that the profitability of the business was not at the same level as the other companies in its group. So what I wanted to ask was, is this something you've been looking at since you acquired the company? And if so, how are you addressing that issue?
Yeah, we are looking at the profitability of the business, every day. I think the big thing is this is not a side project for us. It's core. And so I think, as we got into it, there's a lot of opportunities for us, to get the cost and the profitability of the business to where it needs to be. So I think we're in great shape with that. We're very excited about using that and reinvesting back into the business. Rob talked about buying, some additional molds. We have, 3 or 4 additional molds for new products that are currently flowing. And the reinvestment of the economics of the business will be is fine. So I think where we're going, so it's a great business, and again, we're really excited about it. So we're also working on our cost position as well, and I think as part of that, controlling our own supplies is a critical piece there. So both from a quality and a cost position perspective as well. So, so with that, we made the acquisition of, Elite Advanced Polymers, to basically be in control of our own destiny there. And so that's, very helpful, kind of, on the economic side as well. So,
David,
Okay.
I'll tell you the part that we didn't anticipate when we went into business together is we didn't anticipate tariffs and oil spikes, and so sort of some of the geopolitical turbulence. And what I would say is, I think Robbins is better positioned today than it ever has been to serve our customers in such a crucial industry, right? Retreading is valuable for fleets who are dealing with rising fuel costs. They can lower their acquisition cost of tires and still get a better product. And so what we're really interested in doing is getting out and talking to the retreaders and saying, like, we love this space. We want to grow with you. We want to help manage some of the geopolitical stress that we're all feeling.
yeah. And we'll probably date ourselves significantly just with everything that's going on in the world right now. But, I think a few things is, I think if we do our job correctly, we will make retreading more economical and grow the space. And I think, being committed to the industry, I think we're responsible for that. Separately, with what's happening, in the world right now, I think we will be a very stable supply partner, both from a raw material perspective, and then Rob talked about us having a lot of capacity and different types of capacity as well. And so I think, just as global uncertainty continues, we just want to make sure that we'll be kind of a shining star out there, just in terms of a reliable partner who will be able to get product to them at a cost that'll make retreading economical and help them expand their business. So.
Okay, so the next question, what you've actually dealt with to some degree already, which was related to quality. Rob, you mentioned in an email to me before this interview that how proud you were of the quality at Robbins. And I wanted to talk about the investments you're making in terms of production. You've touched on that a bit. Is there anything more you'd like to add to that?
Well, I would just say a couple of things. One is, across all of our businesses, there's 2 things that we don't compromise on, and that's quality and that's safety of our associates and the folks that we interact with. And those are core values of ours. So at our rubber business, Elite Advanced Polymers, our commitment is on time, on spec, and on budget. We're ISO 9001 certified across our organizations. We're implementing 5S. We're implementing lean. We're not just, kind of doing some haphazard things here and haphazard things there. We've got defined SOPs, defined processes. We want repeatable, predictable, scalable processes that we know that our customers can depend upon our quality. So the other thing is, and Kent alluded to this, but as we earn the right to do things well and deliver high quality products, what inherently happens is that our scrap rates decline and we get more operating capital to invest in new and exciting things. And so we have a capital execution roadmap that Kent and I spend a lot of time working on alongside our teammates on what we're going to do next. And what we're going to, and the way I always say it is, we're going to earn the right to do the next thing. And all of that starts with, and the foundation of that is Robbins and that brand, and getting back to and earning customers' trust around the quality.
Okay, so shall we move on to the various global markets? I wanted to talk about Europe, of course, that's where I am. And I know that under Hexpol the brand had been built up to a degree in Europe. There was an effort made a few years before you bought the company, but in the period prior to the acquisition, that fell away somewhat for a variety of reasons. So, what are your aspirations currently for the European market?
I love that question. I think you and I have exchanged some emails on that.
Yeah.
So I would say globally, we're doing well in Latin America. We'd like to do better, but we're really proud of our Latin American business and the sales that we do through Central and South America. We've got some things going in Africa now that we're really proud of. Believe it or not, we're shipping some envelopes over into Asia today. So we're super excited about that, but we're underperforming in Europe. And my explicit ask to anyone listening to this podcast or reading this interview is, if you'd like to partner with Robbins in Europe, we would love to talk to you. We are eager to get started. I would say when we look at how we're growing, we do relatively well in the domestic market. We're still focused on that, but Europe is an immediate priority for us. And we feel like the timing of this conversation before Tire Cologne is very appropriate. We want the European retreading community to hear this. We're back. We're serious about the market. We're serious about quality, and we're serious about being the best partner we can.
Business. And are there any synergies between Robbins and Elite?
I love that question. And if you'll indulge me, I'm going to tell a really quick story. First of all, Elite Advanced Polymers is based in Ripley, Mississippi. It's a very small town north of Tupelo, Mississippi, 2.5 hours south of Memphis, Tennessee. And it just so happens to be my wife's hometown. And so Kent and I had purchased Robbins, and we were meeting with a marketing helper of ours. And she asked us the question. She goes, well, are you guys buying a whole bunch of companies? Or is Robbins your core focus? And what I like to say is sometimes God whispers and sometimes God yells. But as she asked that question, I responded back to her. And I remember saying, Robbins is our core focus. Robbins is our future. We are not buying another company. And as I said those words to her, the phone in my pocket started buzzing. It was the president of the local bank in Ripley, Mississippi, who just so happened to be my brother-in-law's roommate at university, who said, hey, I hear you guys are in the rubber business. We have a rubber company for sale here in Ripley, Mississippi. Do you want to come take a look at it? And Kent and I said, Robbins is our focus. That's what we're going to prioritize. But, it is on the way back to Muscle Shoals, so maybe we'll take a drive-by a little bit later.
Yeah, that's a great story.
And 3 months later, we acquired Elite Advanced Polymers. So it is a small rubber compounding company, again, based in my wife's hometown. It's a community of 5,000 people, and we have about 50 jobs in that community. We're completely committed to being the best employer we can in Mississippi and in Muscle Shoals. By the way, one of our core values is being the employer of preference in every market we operate. But what we've done with Elite Advanced Polymers is we've learned a whole bunch about rubber. We've learned a whole bunch about compounds. And what it's helped us to do is, number one, make sure that the work that we're doing in Robbins is the highest quality possible. That's why we have that level of confidence. Secondly, and Kent alluded to this, but I think it's really important to reinforce this on Thursday, April the 9th, is in the midst of the geopolitical, just kind of insanity going on out there right now, we have surety of supply that I think really differentiates us from every other global manufacturer in the world. Right? Our supply chain is fully vertically integrated. We're working closely with our partners. Robbins and Elite work very closely together on a daily basis. We've got amazing people at both facilities, and we're able to share some different resources. I'll give you one example. And again, David, I'm sorry I talked too much. But we hired a polymer engineer that probably would have been it would have taken us a couple of years to get to the point where we could hire somebody like that at Robbins. But now we have polymer engineers and chemical engineers at Elite Advanced Polymers that actually are helping us get better every single day at Robbins. And so I will summarize this way. Between Robbins and Elite Advanced Polymers, and hopefully lightning doesn't strike twice, we have everything that we need and want to be able to go where we're going for the foreseeable future. We're super, super excited about the team we have and really what it delivers in terms of quality and reliability for us.
Excellent. Okay, well, finally, what are your overall aims for Robbins in the next few years? So where do you see the company being in, say, 5 years' time?
Yeah, in the next 5 years, we are going to be the #1 supplier of envelopes into the retread market, just bar none. So, and we hope that we'll be a broader supplier just across all retread products, and there'll be more to come in that. I think from an execution standpoint, that means a few things. It means being the best-in-class employer, taking care of our employees, being the best-in-class supplier, giving our customers a product that will create value for them. And the last piece is also just working with our suppliers and other partners. And I think that's been the most, well, I guess, one of the other great things we'll say is just how great folks in the retreading business and also just in the rubber business in general have been, just with sharing their thoughts, sharing their time, and working with us and helping us get to where we want to be. Rob talks about this all the time, so we are building up the last 100 years for the next 100 years with this business, so, we are running the business. We are in the business. This is part of our growth plan and execution. And, Robbins is going to be out there, as quiet as we were for the last 18 months. You've heard Rob talk a lot. We'll be loud and proud and out there, moving into the future. But, basically our message is, anywhere in the world, if there's a retreader who's looking for a better value proposition for their customers, and they want to work with someone who will be able to deliver value and maybe have a little bit of fun doing it, give us a call and we'll make sure we take good care of you. So.
Fantastic. Well, we certainly wish you all the very best with your investment, and we look forward to talking to you both again in the future. In the meantime, many thanks for joining us on the Retreadcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's all for today. I hope you found that interview with Kent and Rob interesting. I certainly did. We'll be back soon with another edition of the Retreadcast when I hope you will join us again. Until then, goodbye.